been waiting for electricity for decades and felt as if they were being treated as second-class citizens because they were deprived of electricity. Because by then, electricity not only meant light, it meant washers, dryers, refrigerators. It meant a whole modern life. And they had, in the 1930s, when city women were throwing their clothes in the dishwasher, most women in the country were still sitting there with a wash tub and the washboard and boiling water for to do their laundry, and ironing took all day, heating the irons on the stove, putting them, bringing them, and all the soot that went with it. So anyway, here's just a page about the light of the country. Light may have been the least of it. Certainly electric irons, washers, pumps, and milking machines would make a greater difference in their lives. But in the late 1930s and 40s, when electricity finally came, it was the light they were waiting for. To see and be seen, beyond the circumference of the kitchen table, to see into the corners of a room or into a husband's face in the evening. It was wonderful, just like going from darkness into daylight. That's a quote from one woman. One farmer observed, "I'll never forget the day when they announced the electric was turned on. I waited till dark to do my chores. I had the barn all lit up like a Christmas tree. Oh, that seemed nice, especially the stable. You didn't have to look where you was going." The moment a house was supposed to be connected to the electric lines was known as 0 hour, and people would flip their switches off and on to make sure they didn't miss the instant of connection. The first thing some did once they were hooked up was to turn on every light and then drive down the road just to look back at their illuminated home. For those in cities, electric light already possessed the bone-weary, jaded cast of Edward Hopper's diner in the small hours. The attendant, the couple, the lone man trapped within. How they arrived or how they would leave is a mystery. At the same time, rural men and women stood bewildered before the one bare bulb hanging from their kitchen ceilings. Some screwed corn cobs into light sockets to keep the juice from leaking out, or they would not let go of the chain pull, believing that once they released it, the light would go out. Sometimes people, parsimonious farm families, kept their lights on all night long. That light in the kitchen came on, and that was the prettiest sight I ever saw. It was wonderful after all those years of oil lamps. I never expected to get it unless I went away from here, said one farm woman. And it was light the linemen remembered. Some of them wanted you to come and turn it on for them, one recalled. They was a little afraid, you know. They didn't know anything about it. So you go, "There's nothing to it, just turn up the switch on and you've got it, see?" And so I turned the light on, and oh my gosh, look at that. We've never had it that way. You can see all around the room. Another remembered, "I've seen this happen. The lights come on hundreds of places, and it's an emotional situation you can't describe. Something happens, lightning strikes them, and they all at once are different. People prayed, they cried, they swore." What if kerosene, which for a brief time had seemed the democratic perfection of light? Kerosene had come in 20 years before electricity and was a huge improvement over all the animals. And it was sort of the light that people had been waiting for centuries. And then electricity came in and started to make it the light of the past. But of course, country people were still using it in the 30s. What if kerosene, which for a brief time had seemed the democratic perfection of life? In memory, some children will fondly recall the oil lamp in the kitchen after supper, or the lantern moving across the yard as their father returned from his chores. But few wish to return to those days. When one co-op in Pennsylvania finally strung their lines, they held a mock funeral for a kerosene lamp. Buried here May 3rd, 1941, by the Adams Electric Cooperative as a symbol of the drudgery and toil which its member families bore far longer than was necessary or right, but which, with the energization of their own power system, are now abolished for all time. Mock funerals were held in other communities as well. Elsewhere, farmers and their wives were content simply to smash their lanterns on the ground.